Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Propel Your Cloud, Empower and Incentivize Partner Success in the Age of Cloud Computing. We're extremely excited to have Diane Krakora, CEO of PartnerPath, and Regan Howell, Markinstar's Channel Program Manager for VMware with us today. A bit about Diane. She's the CEO of PartnerPath. Her broad market experience covers all things technology related, from chips to networking to enterprise software and everything in between. Diane has helped a number of high-tech companies reach their highest partnering potential by applying the right model, creativity, and passion to partnering strategies, operation, and management. Prior to founding Amazon Consulting, which is now named PartnerPath, 12 years ago, Diane held executive positions in channel, sales, and marketing roles at several high-tech companies. Regan comes to us with over 8 years of sales and marketing experience in the IT channel. Regan has helped several large IT companies develop quota-based channel sales teams and MDF-funded demand generation programs. Specifically, for the past 2.5 years, Regan has been a channel program manager responsible for MarketStar's VMware account. Welcome, Diane and Regan.
Thanks, Vaughn. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Vaughn.
Glad you guys are here. We've got an exciting agenda ahead of us. And we're going to run this a little bit as a panel discussion. So for those of you on the webinar, please ask your questions by typing in the chat box on the right, and we'll answer them in our Q&A section towards the end. We're also going to have a few polling questions in this webinar, and we find polling questions very important to help us get the content in the right way that you want to have it done. So let's cover the agenda a little bit. First, we've all heard of the cloud, and that's probably a reason why a number of you are on the webinar today, and it creates partner challenges. So we're going to touch on what some of those are, what we've experienced, and what we've seen in the real world. The second area we're going to touch and cover is building a cloud-ready channel. So what are the steps or things that we've done? And I think most importantly, what are some of the missteps we've had? And then what are some of the successes in the real world? We're going to talk a little bit about no-show vendors. So we'll save what that means for that segment. And then we're going to talk about the new enablement and the top 5 things you must do in this new cloud world. So moving on, Gartner came out with an interesting statistic for us, and part of it was in 2011. I specifically was looking at, hey, the cloud is here and it's large, but that is rapidly becoming reality. Gartner estimates by 2015, 46% of all businesses will have moved more than half their applications and infrastructure to the cloud. In 2011, when we really started hearing about the cloud and the hype cycle was going forward, it was only 3%. So all that hype is quickly becoming a reality. So we're going to do a quick poll because we really want to make sure that we tailor the content and discussion around what you folks are interested in talking about. So the poll first question is, what's the state of your cloud partner channel? So please select one. Number 1, no existing partners are selling a cloud offering. Number 2, currently in the process of recruiting cloud partners. Number 3, existing partners are struggling to sell a cloud offering. Or number 4, fully functional and producing a cloud partner channel. We're going to take just a couple minutes here. Hopefully you've already voted while I was going through the options. And I don't have the Alex Trebek Jeopardy music that I could turn on for you, but we will take a couple seconds and allow folks to answer the poll. All right, we'll give it 10 more seconds. Just wanted to get a couple more folks' input. And if you've just joined, we're taking a quick poll on the state of your cloud partner channel. All right, let's see the results. Well, there you go. Not unheard of, and definitely in the realm of acceptance here, but the top answer that we had with the folks that are participating with us today is existing partners are struggling to sell a cloud offering. So definitely in the conversation Diane and Regan and I have, we'll take a look at that and why existing partners are struggling and what are some of the things that we have done and have been proven to help in that. So we can agree, and I think the polling definitely suggests that the cloud creates challenges. And the challenges are a lot of our partners out there are confused, disorientated, and fearful about how this new cloud computing will impact their business. It's here, it's real, it's in our face. What's it going to do for us? I really like this quote from the director of sales of Mountain States Networks because it kind of speaks to the mindset. We see some risk, so folks know there's risk out there. There's potential for us to erode what has typically been our bread and butter. We want to be prepared because I'd rather be riding the wave than sitting on the beach when the wave hits. So I think that really speaks to a mindset of the partner out there. They know it's here, they know it's there. We want to do something, but what are we going to do? So Diane, what are the biggest challenges for partners moving to or making bigger strides in the cloud space? What have you seen in your experience?
Thanks. Thanks, Vaughn. So in the two studies that we've done recently, one is the State of Partnering study, which we're going to talk a lot about, that we just finished in January, which was the 7th year of that. And then as well, the study we did just before that, which was the biggest winners in the cloud. We got a lot of data from the solution providers around where are their challenges and what are their roadblocks to really adopting and selling cloud solutions. And one of the interesting pieces of data that we had is that about 10% of the respondents in the study said that they're only getting they're getting about 30% of their revenue from cloud. So only 10% said that they have a significant amount, about a third of their revenues, from cloud. The other 90% was way less than 30. So they're still challenged with seeing kind of this demand. And I think that quote from Gartner that you had, we're somewhere between the 3% and the 46% in 2015. So there is some hype cycle out there around cloud, but there's a lot of confusion around what are the services, what's the offering, how do they go sell to these new consumers around cloud, these new line of business buyers, CMOs, et cetera. So one of the big things that we hear from the partners is that they're not seeing demand. They may not be seeing demand because they're not trained and skilled and invested in it, but so there's a disconnect there. And the reason that, again, that they may not be trained and skilled there is that this whole business transformation model, the ability for them to really be able to sell a subscription model and to bill on that and to provision a cloud service is a big change for them. And we'll talk a lot more about how they need to move their business models and change to that. So that's one of the other kind of roadblocks we see. And then the third was, surprisingly enough, vendor conflict, that the model is in cloud that the solution providers are selling, but they're selling almost the same thing that the vendors are selling directly to the end customers. So they're competing with their vendor partners, so to speak, in trying to promote and sell the services. Why would you buy it from a solution provider when you can buy it from IBM, right? It's the same solution, it's the same offering that comes from a cloud from the two of them. So those are the three things that the data has shown us around what the partners are challenged with.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That'd be pretty scary as well, to the fearful comment up above. Hey, Regan, being down in the trenches, what kind of challenges have you seen from cloud partners?
You know, I think Diane hit a lot of really important points there, and something that we see continually is that there is a general fear of lost revenue, and it comes from just a lack of knowledge and understanding based on the return that is possible and available. So I think one of the easiest things you can do is just simply educate your partners and help them understand the return on investment that they can receive by offering these cloud products, these solutions and services. And part of that again is the education. A lot of these folks just don't know how to pitch the cloud services. It's a little bit of a different model, and it takes a little bit of work, but I would say those are kind of the top two issues. It's this fear of lost revenue, and then the second piece would be, the second piece we hear the most is they simply just don't know how to pitch it.
Yeah, I get it. So we're going to move on and chat a little bit about building a cloud-ready channel. So we definitely know the partners are fearful, but what can we do to help them out, or what can we do to understand what makes a good cloud partner? CompTIA has a great quote that I wanted to pull out a couple things in that quote. So these partners are capable of transitioning with the right targeting and planning on the part of the vendor. So Diane, when we talk about targeting the right partners, what in your experience makes up the right partner?
So be they current partners or new partners, those that are most effective are always those that are already selling to your target customers. That's the first thing that we talk about when we're building a channel model for any of our clients. It's being able to segment your audience and say not only what size company are you selling to, small businesses or enterprises, but who are you selling to within those companies? Is it a CIO? Is it a VP of sales? Is it a CMO? Is it a director of IT? So really being able to segment your customers and then say who's already a trusted advisor of those customers. So who are those individuals talking to? So that's typical, and then recruiting or engaging those partners that are already selling to your target customers. And in cloud, kind of the second question here is those that are making a business, are investing in moving to the cloud. It is a very arduous process, and it is very tenuous, as Regan just said. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of change that has to happen around your sales team, how you recognize revenue, what your SLAs are, how you talk to your bank. There's a lot of changes on that. Those that are already kind of moved that forward in what we would consider blooming a new business, a new practice underneath their old traditional model that starts to support the cloud. So they've hired people into that. And then the third piece is that they understand what managed services are, that they can sell on a monthly license and a monthly subscription model for their services, as well as which would help bring into your, as a vendor, your services and your cloud offerings.
Got it. So definitely those traits and mining for those traits are important. Regan, how do you judge who are the right partners for the cloud? What are some of the hard things to look at? Hard numbers.
It's a great question, and something that MarketStart does really well is we have a group of analysts, and anytime we pick up, a new vendor, something that we do is we take a look at that target. What are those channel partners? Who do we have that are existing, and what does a new partner look like for us, or a new reseller? And we use a variety of different methods, but really it's an in-depth analysis around certifications, transactions, if we can get transaction information, staff size to, what types of products do they sell, what would be complementary to those products, also what competitive products, if any, do they sell. So we take a lot of those, we throw those into a lot of different spreadsheets. We do a lot of different in-depth analysis around, who is the 20%. When you look at these partner bases, for the most part, they're quite large. And I think most are experiencing the 80-20 rule. So it's critical that you identify and that you use a methodology around identifying who are those and who will be those productive partners for you, and expending, the lion's share of your efforts around targeting that 20% that really crushes the revenue for you. So it is a very important step, and it's important to gather as much data and do some real in-depth analysis around all of those different points of data. The other piece that I would add to that that's kind of crucial and I think unique to what we've done is that we have a one-on-one touch. So by having a personal contact with these resellers, especially in the lower tiers, maybe the tier 3 and tier 4 accounts in a partner organization. You learn a lot and you hear a lot of good information, but that helps us identify, the other point, which is not so much data driven, but it's a level of hunger. And it's, do we really want to get engaged, and are we willing to commit? And those types of conversations are also very, very important, in choosing your partners, because if you go just by data alone, you're going to miss some really vibrant and bright partners out there who are really hungry and eager to build a business.
Yeah, I think that willing to commit, right? Because there's probably folks that have the attributes that may or may not make the leap. So that willingness to commit, I definitely pull that out. Diane, I really like the state of partnering study that you do every year, and I'm going to pull a quote out of that, and then we'll chat about it a little bit. Basically, you state that vendors that have taken the time to examine partner roles and have made the investment to develop comprehensive cloud channel plans have reaped only limited ROI from their efforts. Being that that's, a bit controversial or, counterintuitive, could you elaborate on that a little bit? Not to pick on you.
No, it's really, thank you. It's from the data that we pulled, and we had 100 solution providers and 80 vendors respond to this. So this is data that we pulled at the end of the year and beginning of January from our market and our peers. And so what we really saw here, and as we kind of dug into this, we already talked a little bit about the demand being a little lackluster, really that it's just an unclear value proposition from the vendors and the solution providers as to what the offering is. Everybody's kind of selling the same thing. You can, it's hard for customers, we're finding, to understand if they should buy their cloud solution from, let's just continue to pick on IBM since I just came back from their conference. So from IBM, we could pull it. We could say HP, AT&T, or their solution provider, right? So they're all selling the same thing, and it's really difficult for a customer to understand that differences. So there's a lot of competition with that very little differentiation, and very kind of confusing in the cloud. And then you add to that, we see a lot of vendors creating these cloud programs. There's the very high number of the respondents, it was like 67% of the respondents had already created a cloud specialized program. But what they did, most of them did, is they took their traditional channel model and they put the word cloud in front of it and said, I'm going to recruit a different type of partner into my cloud program. So that's not really different. And it's not a huge kind of unique program around cloud. And we've already talked about that this is a very different model. The solution providers are very different in terms of how they sell. The customers are consuming differently. The business model, the financial aspect of it, the salespeople aspect of it. So the concept that we can take the same stuff that we've been doing for the last 20 years in the traditional channel model and apply that to the cloud, and is I think pretty naive of us as a channel ecosystem.
Gotcha. So let's talk a little bit about no-show vendors. So we've talked about we've touched on vendors that have actually invested but maybe not done the right thing. But let's talk about those that just really don't show up. And Forrester has a good quote here on no-shows. So Diane, let's start with you. How are they being no-shows? I mean, what are they not doing when it comes to transforming business to the cloud? What are the table stakes that they should do?
Yeah, and this just goes, segues great from the ROI conversation that we just had. So the vendors think they can put a cloud program out there, step the word cloud in front of it, and the partners are going to flock to it and engage in their program and sell their stuff. But there is a lot that has to happen in a business model transformation. And we think that the vendors have a bit of a responsibility in supporting their partners, their current partners, because considering the #1 answer from the poll was existing partners are struggling to sell a cloud offering, that's because they haven't made the business model transformation. And if vendors really want their partners to adopt their cloud programs and their cloud solutions, it behooves them to help their partners make the transformation. And without that, you're all just sitting around waiting for something to happen. And so some of the things that we hear from the partners that they're looking to do is that, one, they want to they need help, or they're focused on retraining their existing staff. One of the biggest things that we saw in this last study was the question around what is the skill development that partners need, and it was all around selling to the line of business. That the partners don't understand how to sell a solution to a CMO or a VP of HR or a VP of sales, because they've been selling speeds and feeds in the technical world to the IT, and now they have to sell a business solution to a line of business decision maker, and that's just a big conversation and big question for them, big unknown there. And then there is, and that goes right into the last point, which is more training, more sales and in-depth training. And we see a lot of that around the sales skills to be able to position a cloud, create the differentiation that we've already kind of talked about, that everybody's selling the same thing. How does a solution provider create the differentiation for themselves as an MSP, and then handle objections and talk to that CMO, which Gartner has that great quote that by 2020 the CMO is going to be the strongest technology buying power in the corporation. So really being able to have that different conversation.
Yeah, that quote was pretty interesting. We were talking over that over dinner. The CMO is going to supplant the CIO in buying technology. So we're going to jump to the new enablement, and we're going to go back to the state of partnering study that we've been referring to a little bit. And I'm going to pull out another quote again, and it's just fun to take some of these out that kind of smack you in the face a little bit. You state in the study that it doesn't mean taking the same partner program, changing a bit of the verbiage, putting a bow on it, and calling it a cloud program is going to work. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're just picking all my good quotes today.
I love you.
Yeah, and this goes to the point around that if you build it, they won't necessarily come. It is a different type of partner, as we've talked about. There's new sales program. There's you have to pay your salespeople differently when you're a channel partner and you move from an on-premise sale to a subscription model, because these guys are used to getting 15% commission based on gross margin from a sale. So how does that happen when it's $5 a month, right? How does a guy pay his mortgage on that? So there's a whole big change. How do you talk to your bank when you go from being a $20 million solution provider to a $10 million solution provider, because you're no longer pushing through gear like you used to. You're now selling it as a service, but you're still $1 million profitability. A lot of different conversations for the partners. So it's a whole new world. And with the vendors, we're seeing not a lot of unique thought around kind of the partner program. We're using the same stuff that we used when it was a traditional linear channel model, when we had a vendor that sold to a distributor, that sold to a VAR, that sold to an end customer, way back in the 1980s and 1990s. Yes, I was in the channel then. Now we have more of a cluster model where everybody's selling to everybody else. Distribution is selling to end customers. AT&T is working with distribution as a carrier and also selling to end customers. So we don't have those nice, clear, defined roles and responsibilities anymore. So if it's a whole new world out there around cloud, why are we using the same engagement and enablement tools that we used in the past model in the Brave New World? And that's pretty much what that quote is all about.
I got it, and I agree. So we're gonna spend some time on that vendor side, that engagement approach and that engagement structure. And Regan's got some really good insights here on how he's been working with his current client in those areas. So the first one that Regan's gonna touch on for us in the new enablement is marketing. And in regards to marketing enablement, Regan, we're talking about marketing knowledge and tooling, probably. How active are your clients' partners in asking you and your team for marketing enablement support?
You know, that slide and that percentage, it couldn't be more spot on. We get a tremendous amount of requests from our partners around marketing and marketing enablement. And what we found is that, you know, to Diane's point, you do have to be creative. You have to find different and new ways and to engage with these partners. And what we found is we have to create specific plays, specific marketing activities that really address partner needs to make it fun. Let's be honest with ourselves. Selling software and selling hardware is fun. It's not. It sometimes can be very tedious. And so what we found is whenever we can take a marketing play, whenever we can take MDF dollars and create events that are compelling but fun and have an element that excites the partner reps and the VAR reps, that's where we're seeing a lot of success. But again, this is a huge request from the partner community. And what's important is that we provide a cohesive, simple marketing approach that's fun and something that you can easily execute on. And so it's making sure that you really do have a solid and you really do need to have a rock star when it comes to your marketing plays. So with whatever company you're with, having someone that really gets marketing enablement, someone that really understands the needs of these partners in the cloud space, that's crucial.
Now that makes a lot of sense, especially if, as Forrester points out, tech marketers are shuttling more marketing responsibility to the channel, so they're going to ask for help, and we need to provide it. So thanks, Regan. Let's move on to the next new enablement area that we've heard about. And Forrester has, I mean, more than 70% of channel partners are collaborating with other channel partners today, and that comes straight from Forrester. Diane, you came to the same conclusion in the 2013 State of Partnering study. Why is collaboration such a powerful tool for partners? And I guess for me, wouldn't partners shy away from consorting with their competitors? Why is this such a trend?
You would think so. And traditionally, partners have worked together because they needed extra bench strength. So capacity, capabilities, they needed a technological capability, so or access to products. They may not be in the platinum level of somebody's program and didn't have access to the more robust products, so they partnered together so that they could get that solution. And that was traditionally how we saw these types of solution providers working together. And in the cloud, they all need a lot of help. There's not a really clear definition of roles in terms of selling and building cloud solutions or referring. So and they haven't necessarily built out their businesses yet to support a cloud solution. So there are billing systems, provisioning, SLA contracts, resources that they may need in a global model, feet on the street to be able to go talk to a particular customer, even though they can support them as a managed service from around the world. So there's a lot of fumbling around together in the dark. So we're seeing that as the cloud becomes more adopted, that they're trying to work together to put together a solution that actually delivers to the customer, and they're learning a lot as they do it. They're learning from their future competitors. And what we see is that they tend to partner with a few friends. There's about 5. The average came out that they partner with 5 other solution providers on a regular basis. So these are people they know they can trust and they know they can work together. So we're seeing partnering become more often, but not necessarily more numbers of organizations that they're partnering with.
Gotcha. Staying to the gang of five. Both Diane and Regan, what type of collaboration tools are we talking about? We know they're collaborating, but what are some of the tools that folks are using to collaborate?
So I guess I'll start since I seem to be on a roll. We're seeing that these 5 partners that they use the vendors' directories, the partner locator directory. They're using a lot of LinkedIn to connect with each other, but they need the face-to-face time to really develop their relationships into a true partnership, where that they can then trust each other enough to go work together. So they're finding that at partner conferences or distribution groups like Tech Select, etc. So they find each other online and then need to meet in the real world to really develop that relationship and look eye to eye and say, we're going to work together, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with Diane on that, and especially in
Regan,
that Sorry, I completely agree with Diane on that in the face-to-face interaction, and that's really where partners meet up and talk about the collaboration and how it can happen. Those conferences and those user groups are huge. You also find that a lot, especially in different cities and geographies, that a lot of these partners have done business with each other in the past. A lot of their sales reps may or may not have worked with one another in the past, and so you do see a lot of collaboration. And I agree with Diane. I think the most important factor is, while social media is huge and important and an important factor in this, the face-to-face is really where those connections happen.
Great. Let's move on to another area of this brave new world of enablement and talk about incentives. Diane talked earlier about how you can't take a standard program, wrap a bow around it, and call it cloud. The same logic we found applies to incentives programs. So Regan, we've listed some of these new incentives, but tell us how you've seen success with these different kinds of incentives with your clients.
Sure. There's a lot of different ways that you can incent your partners, to go out and to drive the cloud message. One of the often overlooked pieces is really optimizing current programs that your company already has and making them cloud friendly. So while I would say that that's probably not the approach for your complete cloud strategy, I do think that a lot of the marketing that is out there can be rebranded, can be repurposed, and used in an effective way to help drive your cloud messaging. But then at the same time, you have to be careful that you don't do the same thing that everyone else is doing. And by that, I mean you've got to come up with some unique ways. You've got to talk to your sales reps, your partner business managers, and you've got to find out what really drives a lot of these partner reps and how you can incent them. And really, what we've done in the past is we've talked to our partner reps, we've talked to the VARs, and we've asked them, what would be fun, what would be interesting, what would be exciting, and how can we build programs around these things, to help you gain market share and help you drive this message and get your sales teams excited about sharing this cloud message. So I think on the next slide, we move right into 13. We can talk about one of the programs that I've worked on. And just in a general way, this was just a simple demand generation program to build pipeline and to close deals with our partners. And so the reason we built this is that a lot of the large partners are engaged face to face on a pretty regular basis. And this particular play was really targeting the tier 3s and the tier 4 type. And I say tier 3 and tier 4, and whatever that may be, your lower level partners. And it was targeted towards those groups because a lot of them don't receive a lot of special incentives and unique program offers. So we targeted a smaller set of partners and a smaller level, or rather a lower level of partner, to help them increase pipeline and increase unique touches throughout, in this case, the SMB partner space. If you'll go to the next slide. And so the way that this program worked is that we funded the program through a variety of different sources. MDF obviously is a great help to drive to drive incentives, but we also from time to time will work with specific product teams that have different buckets of money who would be interested in driving a particular message. So the beauty of this program is that it really is something that you can repeat. It's a repeatable program that can be simple and repeatable, that drives success, and that's exactly what we do. We run this, and have run these types of programs maybe once a quarter, and we refresh it with maybe a new product or a new offering. We incentivize the reps on these value. We incentivize the reps on appointments and different types of collaboration with their end users, and that might be presenting a specific PowerPoint or presentation to an end user. It may be, again, setting appointments or logging deals. To do that, there is some training, and something that we found is absolutely key to any type of program is to create something that's fun, but then also educate them with something that's very easy, a simple script, maybe a phone script, an email that can go out, and then spend time on the phone with our team or with the vendors team to talk about how to pitch this effectively and really arm those folks who are participating in the program with what they need to go out and speak intelligently about the program. And we make it fun, and we have a lot of fun on these phone calls. And then we give them some great incentives, and the partner reps really like to get involved. And these incentives, again, can be based on a variety of different things. In this particular case, it was around appointments and closed deals. The result of this program for us at MarketStar, by extending this to several hundred partners, we gathered literally hundreds of qualified appointments and built a visible multi-million-dollar pipeline. And the reason I say visible is every vendor and every company has a different way to register deals, but a lot of that sometimes is very difficult to view. And when you create a unique program like this, it's crucial that you have a tracking mechanism of some type where you can show your direct return on your efforts. And so by creating this program and then creating methods and ways to report on the appointment set and deal closure, we're able to provide the vendor with really visibility into a multi-million-dollar pipeline. The beauty of this pipeline and the beauty of this program really is that we see roughly 50% closure rate when we drive programs like this, which is much higher than normal. So there's visibility into the pipeline and then a much higher close rate. And I think that part of that is part of the visibility into the pipeline. Because of the success of the program, our partners and our vendors have extended this well beyond the Tier 2 solution providers and taken it up to their larger solution providers. Maybe you want to say Tier 1s, but it may be your Platinum partners, your Gold partners, or whatever the naming may be, naming convention for your vendor may be. But it's been so successful that it's gone across entire companies and been integrated as a core focus and a core opportunity as it relates to marketing programs. So these premier partners, and these may be Gold or Platinum in your case, have also adopted this and have also been experiencing great success. And we continue to see literally from hundreds to thousands of qualified appointments over the course of the past several years.
No, I love to hear it, and I think just kind of breaking it down or rolling it up, however you want to look at it, this new incentives type program, you're focusing on the pre-sales enablement factors. I mean, closing the sale is obviously important, and that was a small part, but rewarding on registering deals, making appointments, providing the training, using MDF in that way. I think that's a really, really good success story and how to structure a new incentives program in a cloud environment. So thanks, Regan, for that. Appreciate it.
And Vaughn, if I could add just one more thing, the other great advantage to this is once people see success with it and they see how easy it is to pull the trigger and to speak to cloud offerings and services, they'll go out and do it again. Partners only sell what they know. And by doing these incentive programs, you are now introducing a new talk track to these sales reps that they didn't have previously. And now they're armed. And so when they're done with this incentive program, in the weeks to come, they'll use the same verbiage, they'll use the same talk tracks, and this is what gets partners. It's kind of the blood in the water, if you will, where they see the opportunities and now they really are enabled.
That's wonderful. So we're gonna go into the summarization section and then quickly get to Q&A. But the summarization is basically the top 5 things that you must do, and they're not Dave Letterman style, and they're actually not in order of priority, but more in order of sequence. So first up, profiling your new and existing partners to see if they're not just capable, but as Diane and Regan pointed out, willing to change their business plan to support cloud services, willing being the key word there. Number 2, build comprehensive business planning into your partner enablement, starting from recruitment all the way through to your active support. But like Diane pointed out, can't just be planning alone. There's other things that are coming in the next couple things you must do. So let's hit number 3. Partners are connecting, they're collaborating, they're doing deals. The gang of 5 is out there against a little bit of competition, but they're hitting it. So as a vendor, provide a platform and or encouragement for them to do this, maybe even through your incentive program. Number 4, designate marketing training and marketing tools as a top priority in your enablement programs. If we build the marketing side, they will come. And number 5, last but not least, we just heard a really good case study on an incentive program. Get creative, get competitive, and reward for more than just sales. Reward for that pre-sales enablement. Incentives still move products, but in the era of the cloud, they can't be the standard program that you ran before. Diane, anything you want to add before we move to Q&A? Anything we missed on the top 5?
Nope, I think you got it. I just want to reiterate that this cloud is different, and doing the same thing isn't going to produce the results you want in this brave new world.
You got it. Regan, anything to add before we move on to Q&A?
No, I absolutely agree with Diane. It is new and it is a little unknown. Again, the key is really just visibility and education. To Diane's points, letting these partners know how they can go out and pitch these new solutions and services.
Gotcha. Makes sense. So jump into the Q&A right away. Let's see what we've got from some of the participants. It's going to take me one sec to bring that up. All right. What is the single most? So in other words, if we had to pick, what's the single most important success factor in the cloud channel space? Who wants to take that one?
For what side? Single most important success factor?
That you got to pick one.
Yeah, I'll take a swag at that. Something that in the past that I think we've seen is that when you're dropping a new product or solution to a partner, something that you would tend to lean on is revenue, right? You go out to these VARs or these resellers and you say, listen, this is how much money, this is how it's going to impact your business, this is the real revenue. And what we're seeing, and what I've seen, is that really the crucial factor in the cloud and these cloud programs is the ease of doing business. Vendors need to make the opportunity, the solutions, the services very easy to navigate and to implement. And that's what partners are looking for. Revenue is great, but if it's not easy in driving solution sets or programs, they won't touch it, and they won't move in the right direction. It's crucial that we make it easy for them.
Yeah, I would agree that easy, it gets to be his, and I'm going to add a single most important success factor is clearly communicating the financial value proposition to the solution providers. So how do they make money? Where do they make money? Not only with your solution, but what other ancillary services do they add on it? Really, that'll help seduce them into this idea of that they can make a living at this, and will get them to invest more in everything else we've talked about, marketing and training and incentives and everything else. So if you're able to be clear on how and where they make money, then I think you've got a better chance at talking to partners and getting them to do business transformation and all the other hard stuff that goes along with it.
Gotcha. So I've got another question here. and it's a statement with a question. So everybody agrees that we need to educate partners in cloud concepts, but what are the alternatives to accomplish that?
In education?
Yeah, so the statements, everybody agrees that we need to educate partners in cloud concepts, but what are the alternatives to do that?
Or
I
what are
take
some
that
of
as
the
the
ways
methods.
the methods? Yeah, I would agree with that. You
Yeah.
know, I think that there's obvious opportunities. You know, we talked about these incentive programs, right? And whenever you say incentive program, it seems like you're saying contest. But really, it's kind of a sneaky way to educate, to be frank, right? The whole idea is to get these guys and use marketing and incentive plays to really train these partners and to help them. So, you know, one point I would just throw out there is use incentive, use marketing opportunities, whether they're field marketing opportunities or incentives that are funded by product teams or MDF. Use that as a different way to educate your partners and get them excited in the education, because I agree with that. That I agree with the idea that everybody's out sending, you know, white papers out and sending people to portals and sending them all these different places. And, you know, these partner reps and these VARs, they are just getting pounded by so many different vendors that try to do this that it kind of becomes white noise and it's not very exciting. So find something that's creative and unique and kind of hide it in something fun, and you'll be educating these partners without them even realizing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think you hit on it, right? You know, there's a lot of gamification things that have come out where you make training fun, you make it easy, you make it rewarding, right? By giving them something of value in exchange. And then the other thing that you touched on is the audience that you're educating, right? It's not passive. You're actively training at the point of impact. We're training the sales folks, right? And we're rewarding them for doing that. So I love that. Diane, anything to add before I move on to the next question?
And the only thing I would add is, in addition to the gamification, everything we can do online, because that's a great reach, we see a lot of success around partnering in the field. So four-legged sales calls, or even if that's four-legged sales calls on a phone call rather than truly, you know, walking into a building. Kind of that mentoring and working together to help the education process.
Fantastic. So this next question is about metrics. So Regan, I'd ask something about what are some of the hard things that we look at, and then Diane, you'd nailed let's say some of the attributes of a partner. But are there metrics beyond just closed deals and revenue that might help identify partners who warrant additional love from the vendors when building incentive programs?
Sure, and one of those is working closely with your marketing teams to see who's raising their hand. And by that I mean a lot of these partners, and the way we identify a lot of partners is simply by them raising their hand. There is nothing maybe specific in their profile or in the analysis that would say, you know, this company or this company is especially or exceedingly vibrant. But people who are, or VARs who are raising their hand and attending, you know, webinars, or who are requesting information, who are requesting MDF, people who continually to raise their hand, it's important that you take a look at those folks. And again, it's the hunger issue. And you really have to rely upon your sales team. And that's why I think we've had a lot of success is we've got this a solid group that calls out, not just on the top tier in your premieres. Those folks are talking a lot and they're getting a lot of information. You've really got to dive down and look at those lower tiers, your tier 3, your tier 4 partners, and see who's raising their hand and who could be vibrant. And what we see is that there is tremendous growth opportunity in white space and house accounts that have never been touched in these lower tiers. So it's important that as you look at the metrics, you don't become overly obsessed with them. It's important because it really will make up 20% of your revenue, or I'm sorry, 80% of your revenue by focusing in, by using, you know, certifications, you know, adjacent, I don't want to say adjacencies, but complementary products or other places they're touching. It's important to profile them properly that way. And if anybody has any additional questions, you feel free to shoot me an email after the call, and I'd be happy to talk with you more about that. Because this really is a long conversation. But I think what's important here is that you dive down into those lower tiers, and that you are also very aware of who's raising their hand and who's asking for the attention.
Sure. And I think if I summarize some of the metrics that you've been talking about. Number of appointments was really important in that program, right? That pre-sales activity. So it's not just, I think the question was about closed deals and revenue, but you pointed out number of appointments, number of trainings taken, maybe percent of folks within the organization that are trained, because you know they're engaged. So definitely, I think in that conversation, there's a lot of different metrics that could be pulled out. But the gist of what you're saying is reward for pre-sales enablement activities that basically indicate a willingness to change. Did I restate that
Yeah,
right?
no, that's absolutely correct. And I apologize. That was around the partner program, the metrics around partner
Yes.
program. Yes, and so those metrics are very fluid. You can customize that to anything you want and get as creative as you want. Sometimes we reward more heavily for specific partner actions, where a partner, if you attend this training, you get this. If you talk to or you invite a sales rep, one thing we've done in the past is, hey, invite a friend, right, at the partner, and help them. So one of those asks could be inviting someone, and how deep and how broad within the partner have you gotten, and we give them points around those types of things. So there's really a variety of different metrics that you can create, and just be creative with it, and it will work out.
Sure. And I think Diane mentioned one, the four-legged sales call. That's stuck in my mind as a as a visual image now. Phone running around with four legs. But yeah, I think there's definitely some metrics we do there. Diane, any others that you've seen
No,
folks measure
I thought
other
Regan's
than
list was great.
perfect? All right, next question. Oh, and we touched on this a little bit earlier, but it's what is your experience with utilizing gamification solutions to incent partner channels? I know we've all got experience with it, but who wants to jump on that one first?
You guys are the pros at this. We see it happen. We don't build it.
Okay.
You know,
Regan, you want to jump in?
Sure. Yeah, gamification and using rewards portals is just really, it's ease of use more than anything. You have to be careful. Some of these gamifications in allotting sales points, partners tend to get turned off when you award them 50,000 points, and then they go into the sales reward portal, and that will buy them, I don't know, a Sony Walkman, right? So you've got to make sure that those sales rewards and that the gamification is relevant. And the way that you find that out is you ask your VARs, ask some of your best resellers what would get their teams excited. That's what's going to help you identify the right way to address your gamification. When you get a lot of guys in a room from a vendor and you say, hey, we're going to build this game, and you do this, more times than not, it doesn't work quite the way you had expected. And if you just take some time to speak to your clients, to speak to those people who are out in the trenches and say, what would excite you? What type of gamification would be fun? And throw a few different scenarios out them. You'll gather a lot of information, and it's going to be a lot more successful.
Going to end off on a slide on MarketStar and where we're at. Diane, Regan, anything else to add before we close up today?
No, thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
No, the last thing I'd say is it's really an exciting and fun opportunity to create something new, and partners are hungry for it. End users are very hungry for it. So whatever you can do to build that and run with it, it's really where everything is going. It's all going to the cloud.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, everyone who attended today. Thanks, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.
Special thanks to Diane and Rich time with us today.